Hi, my name is Tamara and I'm from Texas. I didn't know I was famous until my boyfriend finally told me. But first, make sure you like and subscribe. When I was 10 years old, my parents took me to a carnival. We went on one of those roller coasters where they flash a photo of you while you're on the ride. Well, as we flew down, I started to feel really sick. And, well, I threw up. It's a pity the automatic sensors for the camera took a photo precisely at that gross moment. Oof. Anyway, it turns out, unbeknownst to me, that picture of me throwing up on a roller coaster went viral. So viral that when I showed my boyfriend an old picture of me throwing up on the roller coaster, he freaked out.
Wait, that's you?
Yeah? Why?
Tamara, that's crazy. You're famous.
What are you on about?
Look.
And Tyrone showed me all the memes and buzz over my photo from when I was 10 years old. It was crazy. They called me the Vomit Queen. Not that catchy, huh? But anyway, I was famous. I was surprised I hadn't found that out sooner. Like, how had I gone nearly 12 years without knowing I was famous? But that didn't matter. What mattered was what I was gonna do next. I called up some talk shows and managed to get on one. It was so exciting. Tyrone came with me, and as I sat opposite Jimmy Fallon, I felt like this was my destiny. So, tell me, how did this happen? Well, it wasn't planned. But then I froze mid-sentence. They had pulled up the viral photo of me puking on the ride on the big screen, and I realized that I hadn't actually taken a proper look at the photo until now, because that was when I realized that the parents sitting next to me in the photo weren't my real parents. I didn't say anything for the rest of the interview, I just played it off. But when I watched the footage back on TV the next day, you could see the shock on my face. Who were those people on the ride with me? Were mom and dad even my real mom and dad? I had to get answers. I flew up to my parents' house right away. Tyrone insisted he come with me, so I let him come too. I was hesitant though, since Tyrone and my parents never really got along. Now that I think about it, they've only really met twice in their lives. The last time they met, my dad and Tyrone nearly got into a fistfight. Anyway, I arrived at my parents' house and we got settled. But now was the time to confront them. Who are the people in this photo? I showed them the puking picture. They looked at each other, then back at me.
Those are your real parents.
What?
You're adopted, sweetie. Those were your biological parents, but shortly after the picture was taken, they died in a car crash.
But how? How do I have no memory of my biological parents? I was 10 years old when this picture was taken. Surely, I would have remembered something.
We don't know. The doctors say your brain went into shock and that's why you don't remember them. Listen, honey, this is a lot for us too. Let's talk about this tomorrow. For now, come on, eat up your vegetables.
I did as my mom asked and ate my broccoli, but my mind was on fire. None of this made any sense. Before we finished dinner though, I thought Dad gave me a strange look. But maybe I was just imagining things. In the night, I thought I heard something by our bedroom door. I got up without waking Tyrone and looked into the hallway. Tamara? Oh! It was Dad. Tamara, there's something you need to know. What? I can't tell you here, not with Tyrone. What? Why?
Babe, what's up?
Oh, Tyrone, I turned back to look at Dad, but he had disappeared. I looked at Tyrone. Nothing. Get back to sleep. We went to sleep, or at least pretended to. Things were getting crazier and crazier. My mind couldn't make any sense of it. Well, the next morning, when I woke up, my entire world came crashing down. I walked downstairs into the kitchen to find the room packed with policemen. What's going on? Ma'am, are you the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Johnson? Yes. Why? I'm sorry, ma'am. They died in a car crash last night. I fainted. When I woke up, I learned that they had taken a drive late last night and crashed into a tree. They didn't survive. While I was sobbing and breaking down, I couldn't help thinking, why? Why would they drive at that time of night? The more and more I thought about it, the more and more I realized that this was no accident. This was murder. And despite what my heart wanted, my brain was telling me Tyrone had something to do with this. I saw something else that seemed to confirm my suspicions. When I was sitting on the couch being questioned by the police, I asked Tyrone to get me a glass of water. When he came back, I noticed he had a slight limp. He didn't have a limp last night. What was up with him? I decided to hire a private investigator. His name was Samuel. He did some searching into Tyrone but found nothing. I started to feel better. Maybe I was just being paranoid. But then, my suspicions quadrupled when Tyrone didn't come back one night. He disappeared for 3 months. No note, no nothing. I was devastated, but also disappointed. I guess my suspicions were right. Tyrone murdered my parents. Life went on. I got a job at a kindergarten. I loved teaching kids. All was good. Well, until about 2 kids in my class started fighting. I called in both of their parents to talk about the situation, but when the first couple arrived, I nearly screamed out of fright. It was the couple in the viral photo, my biological parents. How could this be? My adoptive parents told me that they had died in a car crash. Unless they lied. But why would they lie? The couple just stared at me blankly, as though they didn't recognize me. Of course they didn't. It had been nearly a decade since they last saw me, assuming the last time they had seen me was the day at the carnival. Mr. and Mrs. Palomi? Hi, Miss Johnson, how are you? You called us to talk about our son, Ron. Listen, why don't you sit down? And I explained everything to them. I'm your daughter. I told them about the carnival day, my parents, Tyrone, everything. They were shocked, to say the least. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity of awkward silence, my biological mom spoke. Listen, Miss Johnson. Please, call me Tamara. Tamara, I think there's some kind of mistake. We never had a daughter. We only have Ron, our son, who's in your class. I was taken aback. This was not the response I was expecting. What?
Listen, are you crazy or something? We don't want no crazy person teaching our son. It's dangerous.
Darling, please, take it easy. She's just...
I don't care. I want to have her teaching my son.
I zoned out. If they weren't my parents, who were they? I decided to ask them to do a DNA test, and eventually they agreed. It came back negative. So, it was true. I wasn't their daughter. But actually, I think one part of your story is true, said the woman. We did go to a carnival, and if my memory's right, there was a little girl who sat between us.
Yeah, hon, actually, you're right. I remember her puke landed all over me.
Oh, that's right. Wait, so the picture is real? This actually happened?
Yes, hon, but I don't know why your parents said we're your biological parents. That part just ain't true, hon.
I had a lot to think about. I said goodbye to them and called up Samuel, my private investigator, again. I spent all the money I had on him and asked him to find Tyrone. If anyone had answers, it was him. Weeks went by, no news. But then suddenly, I got a call. I found him. He had been living in a homeless shelter on the edge of town. When I approached his section of the building, he looked at me in surprise. Hello, Tyrone. Samuel was with me. We captured Tyrone and brought him to my apartment. We forced him to tell the truth. Tyrone explained everything. He had kidnapped me when I was 10 years old. He had been 16 years old at the time and homeless. My parents had approached him and asked him to kidnap me for them. So, my parents were the bad guys?
I'm sorry, Tamara, I was desperate. They paid me good money to kidnap you, and I thought I could move on from it. But then one day, I saw you in town with your kidnappers, who you believed were your real parents. And I had to do something. I approached you to tell you the truth, but instead, well, we started dating. Years went by. Your parents were constantly paying me to keep the secret from you, but I'd had enough. That night, the night your parents, aka your kidnappers, died, I confronted them. I told them I was gonna tell you the truth. They weren't having it. They took me for a drive, saying they were gonna find a restaurant where we could chat more openly. But then, they started attacking me. I think they wanted to murder me, and your dad lost control of the vehicle. The car crashed, but I somehow survived. I limped back home and pretended I knew nothing about it.
No wonder. I was wondering why you had a limp.
Yeah, and I thought we could move on from all that. We could be happy. But then you hired a private investigator. You thought I didn't notice, huh? I knew if you found out the truth, you would hate me. So I left. I couldn't bear you hating me. But I guess you know now.
I was speechless. Samuel looked at me and shrugged. He was just as speechless as me. I don't hate you, Tyrone. Tyrone looked up in surprise. Samuel looked surprised too. You did what you had to do to survive. I don't hate you. Tyrone looked hopeful.
So you'll take me back?
What? Of course not. You lied to me. Just because I don't hate you doesn't mean I still want to date you. Besides, I looked at Samuel and grabbed his hand. Samuel grinned. Samuel and I got really close while we were trying to look for you. We're dating now. Sorry, Tyrone, you missed out. And we walked away. That's the last time I ever saw Tyrone. Who knew one viral photo could change my life so drastically?